Judge Frank Caprio had faced many challenging cases in his 40-year career, but today's case was different. The hearing at the Providence Municipal Court would determine the fate of Jefferson Elementary School, located in the city's poorest neighborhood. Millionaire real estate developer Raymond Collins had used every legal avenue to transform the school property into a luxury complex. "Your Honor," Collins began, "this school is no longer economically viable. It's nothing but a burden on the municipal budget." The courtroom rumbled with anger. At that moment, the court clerk handed Caprio a note. As Caprio read it, his expression suddenly changed. "Mr. Collins, I'm going to call a recess. I'd like to see you in my chambers immediately." The 15-minute conversation behind closed doors would change the destiny of the entire city. What had Judge Caprio seen in that note? The courtroom was packed with Jefferson Elementary School's teachers, students, and parents. In the back rows, Principal Elena Martinez anxiously clasped her hands. She had been running the school for 28 years, and this important day would determine its fate. Beside her sat James Wilson, the school's most senior teacher, with just 2 years left until retirement. This court decision would determine how his career would end. Raymond Collins' attorneys had filled their table with files, economic analyses, expert reports, municipal decisions, all prepared to show that Jefferson Elementary was no longer functional. Collins' lead attorney, Michael Richardson, confidently arranged the documents. In his 30-year legal career, the number of cases he had lost could be counted on one hand. Collins walked with tense steps down the corridor to Caprio's chambers. The 58-year-old real estate tycoon was one of Providence's 10 wealthiest people and rarely had to wait, especially outside a judge's office. He straightened his tie, checked his silver cufflinks, and knocked on the door. "Come in." Caprio's office was unpretentious. Law diplomas and family photographs hung on the walls. The judge sat at his desk, with the note he had just received lying in front of him. "Have a seat, Mr. Collins." Collins sat down across from Caprio. "May I ask for an explanation for this sudden recess, Your Honor?" Caprio removed his glasses and rubbed his tired eyes. "I'd like to ask you a question, Mr. Collins. Have you ever visited Jefferson Elementary?" Collins frowned. "Number. Why would I? I know the property's value and the building's condition." "So you've never seen the 650 children who receive their education there?" "This isn't an emotional issue, Your Honor. It's simply an economic decision." Caprio nodded, then picked up the note on his desk. "This morning before coming to court, the author of this note met with me. I won't disclose their name, but they brought me records from a closed session of the city council." Collins' face tensed slightly. "What kind of records?" "Interesting ones, Mr. Collins. Records in which you describe the school grounds as valuable real estate wasted on poor kids. A conversation where you told the mayor, these people won't amount to anything through education anyway, let's turn that property into its real value. And most interestingly, correspondence showing the mayor approved this project in exchange for a $2 million donation to his election campaign." The confident expression on Collins' face suddenly faded. This is slander. Who gave you these? You must reveal your source." Caprio calmly shook his head. "I'll explain in court, but first I wanted to give you a chance. I'll be frank. According to these documents, the decision to close Jefferson Elementary isn't legal. It's based on bribery and corruption." Collins jumped to his feet. "You can't prove the authenticity of these documents. I'll hire the best lawyers and the case will drag on for years," Caprio finished. "Meanwhile, what happens to the education and lives of 650 children? Have you ever thought about that?" The silence in the room momentarily affected them both. Collins sat down again, his previous confidence now gone. "I have a proposal for you, Mr. Collins," said Caprio, with surprising gentleness in his voice. "Visit the school with me, just 30 minutes. See those children, those teachers, then make your decision." Collins looked skeptical. "Why would I do that?" "Because if I submit these documents to the court, you won't just lose this project, you'll lose your reputation. You might even face jail time. But I'm someone who prefers reconciliation before conflict." Collins thought for a moment. "Okay, let's say I visit the school. Then what?" Caprio shrugged. "I don't know. Maybe nothing changes. Maybe everything does, but right now, that's the only alternative I'm offering you." Collins took a deep breath. "All right, Let's visit the school. The courtroom was anxiously awaiting Caprio and Collins' return. 15 minutes had passed, and rumors about their conversation were spreading quickly. Some said Collins had withdrawn the case. Others said Caprio would be reported for bias. Finally, the doors opened. Caprio and Collins entered, but no one could read anything from their expressions. "Ladies and gentlemen of the court," said Caprio as he took the bench, "I'm calling a brief recess. Mr. Collins and I will be visiting Jefferson Elementary. We'll reconvene here in 2 hours." A wave of astonishment turned into whispers throughout the courtroom. Elena Martinez and James Wilson looked at each other in surprise. What did this unexpected development mean? When Caprio and Collins arrived at Jefferson Elementary in the court car, the bell had just rung, and students were pouring out for recess. The playground was filled with children in colorful clothes. They were laughing, running, playing games. The building itself was old, with paint peeling in places, but the children's energy balanced this image. Assistant Principal Sarah Chen greeted them, unable to hide her surprise. "Judge Caprio and Mr. Collins? Welcome." "Mr. Collins wanted to see the school," Caprio said simply. "If possible, we'd like to visit the classrooms." "Of course, right away. Right now, there's a fantastic science project presentation in Class 5A. Shall we start there?" Collins nodded reluctantly. As the three walked through the school corridors, Collins noticed the student artwork, projects, and achievement certificates decorating the walls. One bulletin board was particularly eye-catching. "Where are Jefferson graduates now?" The board was filled with photos of graduates who had achieved success. Doctors, engineers, teachers, artists. "This is impressive," said Collins thoughtfully. "Did these kids really study here?" Sarah smiled. "Yes. Jefferson may be one of the lowest performing schools in the state based on test scores, but we're proud of our graduates' achievements. You can't imagine the challenges these children face at home in this neighborhood." When they entered classroom 5A, teacher Ms. Thompson cut her presentation short and introduced them. "Children, we have very special guests today, Judge Caprio and Mr. Collins." About 25 children looked at them curiously. A little girl in the front row raised her hand. "Mr. Collins, are you the person who wants to tear down our school?" Collins swallowed hard. The child's direct question caught him off guard. "I'm just doing business, young lady. But if I go to another school, who will take care of my little brother? My mom works 2 jobs and I don't have a dad. I pick up my brother from the kindergarten section after school." Collins couldn't answer. Caprio intervened. "Perhaps Mr. Collins would like to see your projects?" The children eagerly began showing their projects. Water filters made from recycled materials, simple solar energy systems, biological farming experiments, all aimed at solving problems in their neighborhood. Collins stopped beside a boy. The child had designed a filtration system made from old plastic bottles. "What does this do?" Collins asked. "Sometimes we don't have water at home, Mr. Collins," said the boy. "This filter makes rainwater drinkable. When my mom is sick, I can give her clean water." The expression on Collins' face changed. His gaze softened as if he was truly seeing the child for the first time. The school tour continued. In the music room, they listened to children playing on old, out-of-tune pianos. In the gym, actually a multi-purpose room, they watched young people practicing basketball on a cracked floor. In the library, they saw shelves half empty, but tables full of students. Finally, they visited a small garden area in the schoolyard. Children were growing vegetables under their teacher's supervision. "The kids take these vegetables home to their families," Sarah explained. "Some of our children eat their only decent meal of the day at school. This garden provides them with nutritious food at home too." Collins silently examined the garden. The expression on his face had gradually changed throughout the visit. "Our time is up," Caprio finally said. "We need to return to court." As they were leaving, a small group of children gathered to see them off. One of them handed Collins a handmade drawing. It showed smiling children and a colorful school building. "If you don't close our school, I'll make you even prettier ones," the child said with a smile. Collins took the picture, looked at it for a long time, and put it in his pocket. When they got into the car, both men were silent. Caprio didn't speak, allowing Collins time to think. When they returned to the courtroom, everyone was waiting tensely. Collins went to his attorneys and whispered with them briefly. His attorney, Michael Richardson, shook his head in disbelief, but Collins appeared determined. Caprio took the bench. "We'll continue the hearing where we left off. Mr. Collins, would you like to continue your argument?" Collins stood up. Everyone in the courtroom was holding their breath, watching him. "Your Honor, I'm withdrawing my case." The courtroom suddenly erupted in murmurs. Elena Martinez and James Wilson looked at each other in astonishment. "Order, please," said Caprio, banging his gavel. "Mr. Collins, would you like to share the reason for your decision?" Collins took a deep breath. "Today, I visited Jefferson Elementary for the first time. I saw the children there, the teachers. I understood how much the neighborhood needs that school." He pulled the child's drawing from his pocket. "This moved me. We're not talking about just property or a building, but a community." The astonishment in the courtroom grew even more. "Furthermore," Collins continued, "as Collins Construction, we would like to make a donation for the renovation of Jefferson Elementary. The building will be reinforced with new classrooms, a library, a modern gymnasium, and a larger schoolyard." The courtroom erupted in applause. Elena Martinez couldn't hold back her tears. Caprio banged his gavel to restore order. "Mr. Collins, that's a very generous offer. Allow me to ask about the reasons behind your decision. Do you have any concerns about the matters we discussed this morning?" Collins nodded understandingly. "No, Your Honor. This decision was made entirely of my own free will, following our visit to the school. Those children and teachers bring hope to that neighborhood. Instead of destroying that, I want to support it." Caprio nodded with satisfaction. "Very good. Then my ruling is as follows. Jefferson Elementary will not be closed, the land sale will not proceed, and the school will be renovated through Mr. Collins' generous donation. Court is adjourned." When he banged his gavel for the last time, the courtroom filled with cries of joy. Teachers and parents hugged each other. Collins approached the bench and quietly asked Caprio, "What about those documents? Did they really exist?" Caprio smiled. "Mr. Collins, sometimes justice isn't just about enforcing laws, but about changing people's hearts. The change I saw in you today is more valuable than any document." Collins looked puzzled. "So, no, there were no such documents," Caprio said quietly. "Just a note from a former student, someone who graduated from Jefferson and is now a doctor. It said, 'Please save our school. It's the only chance for thousands of kids like me.'" Collins remained silent for a moment, then smiled slightly. "You tricked me, Judge Caprio." "No, Mr. Collins, I gave you an opportunity to see the truth. You made the decision yourself." A few weeks later, a grand ceremony was held at Jefferson Elementary. Renovation work was beginning, and the whole school had gathered to celebrate. Children sang songs and recited poems. When Raymond Collins took the podium, he was greeted with applause. The man who once wanted to tear down the school had become a hero. "I promise you," said Collins, "this school will be an educational institution that not just Providence, but all of Rhode Island will be proud of. And I'll be with you every step of the way." After the ceremony, as Caprio and Collins walked in the schoolyard, Collins asked, "You know, Judge Caprio, I actually grew up in a poor neighborhood too. My father died when I was young. My mother worked 2 jobs, but one teacher believed in me, and here I am." Caprio smiled. "Sometimes all any of us needs is for someone to give us a chance, Mr. Collins." "Raymond, please." "Frank." The 2 men shook hands and continued watching the children playing in the yard. Once rivals, they had now come together for a common purpose: to give hope to future generations. Journalists wrote about what they called the Providence miracle for weeks. Judge Frank Caprio's wisdom and Raymond Collins' transformation had inspired the entire city. And the students of Jefferson Elementary? They not only got a better school, but also learned an important life lesson. Sometimes, even in the most challenging situations, goodness can prevail, and people can change. Years later, when a journalist who had graduated from Jefferson Elementary interviewed Frank Caprio, he asked about that day. "You never really explained what was in that note. Were there really documents, or was it all a bluff?" Caprio responded with his characteristic wise smile. "The justice system sometimes works in roundabout ways, young man. What matters is reaching the right outcome. Jefferson Elementary is still standing and is now one of the best schools in the state. I think that's more important than any document." The journalist persisted. But still, I'm curious. Caprio laughed. Sometimes being curious is more valuable than knowing the answer. What changed Collins' heart that day wasn't a document, but the hope in those children's eyes. And that was a justice no court ruling could provide. Everyone in that courtroom that day witnessed that justice exists not just in laws, but in people's hearts. And Judge Frank Caprio had once again shown that sometimes the greatest justice begins with a change in one person's heart.